All right, let's see what Cyberpunk's all about. In the United States, years of corrupt government and financial destabilization had resulted in a nation divided by class, by race, and economics. Oh, so it's real life, just without the cyberpunk. Hey everybody, we're going to be talking about the Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit. If you guys haven't played the Cyberpunk TTRPG, you know what? Neither have I, and this was a best way to break into it. Within the Cyberpunk TTRPG kit, you're going to get one rulebook. You've got all of the little details in here, and the art in this bad boy is awesome. If you guys can see that Lamborghini over there. But not only that, you're going to get the rules book as well. So you've got the rules, you've got the world book, lore, and everything included, and this is how you're going to get started. But if we were going to jump back to this book for just a bit, this isn't just an adventure book, like most starter sets. In this adventure book, the adventure starts here, and it's just a few pages long. So many adventure books think that they really have to pad out the adventure with 30 pages of dribble or backstory, and that's not necessary. You can run a very long session with just this many pages, and I love that they recognize that. But that being said, there is like a whole 40 pages in front of it that's lore and how the game works. There are a few different kind of mechanics apart from like Dungeons and Dragons or maybe even the Fallout or Alien series. But this system here is based on a D10 system, so no D20s, but the D10 system is going to give you a handy 2 D10 and 4 D6. These are stylized dice in the cyberpunk theme. Really cool. I would use these for decoration more than anything because it's hard to read the dice. Also included within this box, you've got a bunch of little plastic stands for all of the minis that they gave you. I really love when they do something like this. It's that little extra step that takes it the extra mile. I just lost a car. Another thing that's cool, they give you 4 maps. They've got one on here, one in here. I've got this bad boy, the dusty road, and then another sewer. But I do wish these maps were a little bit bigger, especially since we are actually using guns and firearms. There's a longer range on some of the stuff like that. People can actually hit you from all the way across these maps. And of course, pre-made characters are pretty cool this time. We've got a nice art for everything, and the best thing about these pre-made characters is while there may be just a few, you've actually got a few ways to play each one of these characters. So it's almost like 6 different characters on this sheet here. You can pick the stats and how they're able to go about the world, and you can even change a few of the skills or starter equipments to really make it feel like they are a different character. And also don't feel like any of the skills are quarantined off from you. You're allowed to use all of them, even though it may not say it in your skills sheet. These are just the skills you're good with. And of course, we have the easy rules reference. This is my lifeline. I tried to play just a little bit of this, and this is what I relied on for the most part until I got the mechanics down. But they have here the basics of how pretty much everything in the game works when it comes to calculating stuff. There are a couple of things pretty typical to D&D, like the skill check. The only difference from that and Dungeons and Dragons is D10 is now a D20. But there is something I think Cyberpunk does very well, and that's opposed checks. There's not a lot of that in D&D, if you can't tell, that's the one I play the most. But contested checks for attacks even, or for even skill checks if you're trying to invade somebody's mind. Which brings us to one of the coolest cyberwares, and we'll get to cyberware in a minute, but that's the Netrunners. Netrunners are able to go across the web, invade minds, implant viruses, go through business records. They are literally the hacker, but they get to do it with their mind. And there's even a mechanic to roll for net running to ensure successful attempts. You hope, at least. The dice do decide. When it comes to cyberpunk, of course, we have to talk about the cyberware. There's so many different cyberwares that you could incorporate into your builds, and all of the pre-made characters have at least 2 or 3 cyberwares. And if you guys have watched the cyberpunk Netflix show Edgerunners, then you probably know about cyber psychosis. Or if you've played 2077, which this is actually a prequel to 2077. So if you have played that, now you have a reason to play this. But when it comes to cyberware, you could have things like a chainsaw arm, big arms that make it easier to punch, make you stronger, hefty legs that make your jump and speed greater, cyber optics for your eyes that increase the lighting for infrared or anything else like that, essentially giving you dark vision. So don't worry, you can still tell your DM every 5 minutes you have dark vision. Difficulty values are something you're going to hear a lot in Cyberpunk, and that's something you're trying to overcome whenever you do almost anything. The difficulty value is usually set by the DM, depending on how hard whatever task you're trying to accomplish is. Along with that, another thing that you should keep in mind is armor is not just exclusive to your body. You don't get to put on a chest plate and now all of a sudden your entire body is covered. You've got head armor as well, so you need to make sure you're protected against headshots. And one more thing that I may actually even incorporate into my games, the health system. When you're half of your health, you are seriously wounded, with a few disadvantages that apply. I might rework this a little bit at my table, but I think it's a great way to make sure that your players don't hop in between 1 and 0 HP. So we went over everything that's within the box today, but let's go over what exactly Cyberpunk is. There was a Cyberpunk 2000 or 2013, something like that, and then there was a Cyberpunk 2020. After that, we've got Cyberpunk Red, which bridges the gap between Cyberpunk 2020 and 2077. Keeping everything in the same world but having such a rich story really helps for player investment, and if they didn't get enough at the game table, they can always go home and play Cyberpunk. But in the world of Cyberpunk, it's a dystopian future. All of technology has been blended with the whole of man. Poverty is rampant and we don't even have to hide it. The corporate elites are the greediest billionaires that they could possibly be, often having more power than even governments. And this is what we're here to take down. You're essentially an outlaw when you're playing Cyberpunk on the edge of society, using your skills and resources to be able to make a difference for those around you. As far as it goes for quality within this box, I'd say it's top notch. I wouldn't necessarily critique anything we have here except for the maps being a little bit bigger, and if I could read the dice, that would be great. But other than that, I approve. This is a great way to get your players or yourself started in the world of Cyberpunk, especially if you like the video game or their previous TTRPG. Do keep in mind this is just a starter set, so this is a bare bones version of what Cyberpunk Red is, and there are so many more cybernetics and things a part of it. So when you actually get to playing Cyberpunk Red, if you do pick up a book or two, which I plan to as well, you'll be amazed with how many things you can alter your character with. But that was our review for Cyberpunk, so let's get right into some booster box openings. Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and they just recently had a sale on the Mogwai Expanse for Pathfinder, so I'm super happy to grab these 8 boxes for $50. These, for reference, were somewhere close to 100. Alright, let's open up with Beyond the Witchlight. I have gotten quite a few stickers out of boxes like these, but let's hope for a great big one. Every time I'm saying to myself, oh, it's gonna be a big one, it's gonna be a great one. It's literally just a small one that they put on a bigger base. So here's our big one. I already ruined the surprise, but it's a dragonfly, slightly larger than normal. Ooh, here we go. I finally got a monster that says the monster's name. We have a red cap. This is essentially a little gnome guy, and I'm totally going to be using this in the future. We've got a blink dog. I love that it even did the little portal for him. And then here we have a brain with a beak and tentacles called Grell. I'm not sure if that's a name or the monster's name, but I'm assuming that it's probably a person's name, judging from everything else in this set. Moving into the Mogwai Expanse, can we get something better than a giant dragonfly? Maybe a little bit. We got a big bird dragon thing. Okay, big is relative because it is somewhat the same size as the dragonfly. But yeah, this happens to be a Wangasi. Very strange. I've never heard of that one before. Dragon bird. The next one in the Pathfinder set is an ant knoll. I think they might have just meant a very small knoll because that looks good. I like that, especially his shield on the back. And this is something that's never happened to me before. This might be why this set was 50 bucks. I got 2 of the exact same thing in the exact same box. That's ridiculous. But at the very least, we did get a Verdant Revolutionary, and we got 2 of them, so maybe we'll get a troop of them. But this kind of looks like a captain person, so I don't think I need 2 captains. These are definitely the 2 coolest things we got out of the sets, and if I was going to say what's the coolest, I'd have to give it to the Blink Dog. So today, Wild Beyond the Witchlight wins. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you liked that video, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, and I will see you all later.